হ্যালো এভরিওয়ান, আজকে খুব ইজি করে বোঝাবো জার্নি টু দ্য এন্ড অফ দ্য আর্থ। এই ক্লাস ভিডিওটা আমার আগে ছিল, তো সেটা থেকেও আমি আরও ইজি করে বোঝাচ্ছি। এটা একটা নিউ ক্লাস ভিডিও। সো লেটস বিগিন। তো তিশানি দোষী যখন অ্যান্টার্কটিকাতে জার্নিটা করেন, তার কি এক্সপিরিয়েন্স হয়েছিল সেটা নিয়ে এটা লেখা। So she is saying, early this year, I found myself aboard a Russian research vessel, the academic Shokelsky, heading towards the coldest, driest, windiest continent in the world, Antarctica. My journey began 13.09 degrees north of the equator in Madras and involved crossing 9 time zones, 6 checkpoints, 3 bodies of water, and at least as many ecospheres. By the time I actually set foot on the Antarctic continent, I had been traveling over 100 hours in combination of a car, an aeroplane, and a ship. So my first emotion on facing Antarctica's expansive white landscape and uninterrupted blue horizon was relief, followed by an immediate and profound wonder. Why was it profound wonder? Because she came from Madras, which is actually very, very hot, and she had gone to one of the coldest places on earth. So that's why seeing snow all around, wherever her sight goes, it is only ice, and ice. So that's why she was wonderstruck. And she had been traveling for almost 4.5 days. That's why she was very tired. So that's why it was a sense of relief when she actually arrived at Antarctica's expansive white landscape. Wonder at its immensity means hugeness, its isolation means there was not many human habitation, but mainly at how there could ever have been a time when India and Antarctica were part of the same landmass. So it was really very wild imagination that there was actually a time when India and Antarctica were they had existed as a single continent. 650 million years ago, a giant amalgamated southern supercontinent, Gondwana, did indeed exist, centered roughly around the present-day Antarctica. Things were quite different then. Humans hadn't arrived on the global scene, and the climate was much warmer, hosting a huge variety of flora and fauna. For 500 million years, Gondwana thrived means lived, but around the time when the dinosaurs were wiped out means destroyed, killed, and the age of the mammals got underway, the landmass was forced to separate into countries, shaping the globe much as we know it today. That means the single continent was broken up into several other continents, and new countries emerged. To visit Antarctica now is to be a part of that history, to get a grasp of where we have come from and where we could possibly be heading. It's to understand the significance of Cordilleran folds and the Precambrian granite shields. Now, Cordilleran folds are complex geological structures which are formed by the compression and deformation of the Earth's crust. Okay, you must have read about folded mountains in geography. So, Cordilleran folds are complex geological structures formed by compression and deformation of the Earth's crust, just like folded mountains. So, it's to understand the significance of Cordilleran folds and Precambrian granite shields, ozone and carbon evolution and extinction. When you think about all that can happen in a million years, it can get pretty mind-boggling. Mind-boggling means something very difficult to digest. Imagine India pushing northwards, jamming against Asia to buckle its crust and form the Himalayas. So obviously, when India pushed northwards, okay, and jammed Asia, due to this sudden impact, Himalayas are born. You have read in geography. South America drifting off to join North America, opening up the Drake Passage to create a cold circumpolar current, keeping Antarctica frigid, desolate, and at the bottom of the world. Circumpolar current is the world's strongest and longest ocean current, flowing clockwise, means west to east, around Antarctica. I repeat, circumpolar current is the world's strongest and longest ocean current, flowing clockwise, west to east, around Antarctica. So it acts as a massive barrier connecting the Atlantic, Indian and Pacific Oceans while regulating global climate by transporting heat, carbon and nutrients. Okay? Acha. For a sun worshipping South Indian like myself, 2 weeks in a place where 90% of the Earth's total ice volumes are stored is a chilling prospect, not just for circulatory and metabolic functions but also for the imagination. The author is from South India, where it is very sunny and hot, so spending 2 weeks in Antarctica, which stores 90% of the world's ice, is very scary for her, not just for the body, mane blood circulation and metabolism, but also for her imagination. It's like walking into a giant ping pong ball, devoid of any human markers, no trees, billboards, buildings. So she feels like walking in a giant white ping pong ball with no trees, billboards and no buildings. So you lose all sense of time and distance there. You lose all sense of time and distance there. That's what she means when she says you lose all earthly sense of perspective and time here. The visual scale ranges from the microscopic to the mighty, midges and mites to blue whales and icebergs as big as countries. The largest recorded was the size of Belgium. Days go on and on and on in the surreal 24-hour austral summer light and ubiquitous silence, interrupted only by the occasional avalanches or calving ice sheet, consecrates the place. It is an immersion that will force you to place yourself in the context of the Earth's geological history, and for humans, the prognosis isn't good. এই জায়গাটা আমি খুব ইজি করে বোঝাচ্ছি. Antarctica has things that are very small, like tiny insects called midges and mites. ঠিক আছে, ওখানকার যেসব ছোটো ছোটো ইনসেক্টস আছে সেগুলোকে বলা হয় midges, midges and mites. And things that are very huge like blue whales and icebergs as big as countries, means one iceberg was the size of Belgium. During summer there is sunlight for 24 hours, so days feel endless. It is mostly silent except when an tushadjhar avalanche happens or a piece of ice breaks. The silence makes the place feel sacred. So being there forces you to think about Earth's history. Here the author warns that for humans the future does not look good. For humans the future does not look good. The prognosis isn't good means the future does not look good. So why? Let's discover. Human civilization have been around for a paltry 12,000 years. Paltry means very small amount of time. Okay, for just 1,000 means 12,000 years, barely a few seconds on the geological clock. So if you consider a geological clock, it is only a few seconds. Okay, so geological clock means geological time scale means the Earth's 4.5 billion year history. If you compare it with the Earth's 4.5 billion year history, then it's just a matter of few seconds. Humans existed for 12,000 years, so it is just a matter of few seconds. So it is a very short time. And within that very short time, humans have caused a lot of damage to this Earth. In the short amount of time, we have managed to create quite a ruckus. Ruckus means destruction, havoc, etching our dominance over nature with our villages, towns, cities, megacities. The rapid increase of human population has left us battling with other species for limited resources, and the unmitigated burning of fossil fuels has now created a blanket of carbon dioxide around the world, which is slowly but surely increasing the average global temperature. So, within this very short time, 12,000 years, which is, if you consider the geological time scale, it is only a few seconds. So, within this very short time, humans have caused a lot of damage to this Earth. We have built villages, cities, fought over resources. Okay, we always fight over resources for oil, for natural gas, okay, for everything. And we burn fossil fuels. So this burning has created a blanket of carbon dioxide around the Earth, which is slowly increasing the global temperature. Climate change is one of the most hotly contested environmental debates of our time. Will the West Antarctic ice sheet melt entirely? Will the Gulf Stream ocean current be disrupted? Will it be the end of the world as we know it? Maybe, maybe not. Either way, Antarctica is a crucial element in this debate, not just because it's the only place in the world which has never sustained a human population and therefore remains relatively pristine in this respect, but more importantly because it holds in its ice cores 500,000-year-old carbon records trapped in its layers of ice. তো একটুখানি ইজি করে বোঝাই. So climate change is a big debate today. People argue about whether the West Atlantic ice sheet will melt completely or if the Gulf Stream ocean current will be disrupted. Will this be the end of the world? Maybe yes, maybe no. But Antarctica is very important for this debate because no humans ever lived there permanently. So it is still pristine. Pristine মানে হচ্ছে clean and untouched. Pristine মানে হচ্ছে clean and untouched. It is clean and untouched in this respect, but more importantly, it holds 500,000-year-old carbon records trapped in its ice layers. So by studying this ice, we can learn about the Earth's past, present and future. So studying this ice, we can learn about the Earth's past, present and future. Students on Ice, the program I was working with on the CBSE, aims to do exactly this by taking high school students to the ends of the world and providing them with inspiring educational opportunities which will help them foster a new understanding and respect for our planet. It's been in operation for 6 years now, headed by Canadian Geoff Green, who got tired of courting celebrities and retired rich curiosity seekers who could only give back in a limited way. With Students on Ice, he offers the future generation of policymakers a life-changing experience at an age when they are ready to absorb, learn, and most importantly, act. So the author was working on a program called Students on Ice on a ship named CBSE. This program takes high school students to Antarctica to give them an inspiring educational experience. The program is run by a Canadian named Geoff Green. He used to take rich, retired people and celebrities to Antarctica, but they could only give him in a limited way. means only money, nothing else. So he started taking students instead because they are the future policymakers, because students are the future policymakers. The reason the program has been so successful is because it's impossible to go anywhere near the South Pole and not be affected by it. It is easy to be blaze about polar ice caps melting while sitting in the comfort zone of our respective latitude and longitude, but when you can visibly see glaciers retreating and ice shelves collapsing, you begin to realize that the threat of global warming is very real. So, the program is successful because you cannot go to Antarctica and remain unchanged. While sitting at home, you might not care about melting ice caps, but when you actually see glaciers melting and ice shelves collapsing in front of your eyes, you realize that global warming is a real and serious threat. বাড়িতে টিভিতে ন্যাশনাল জিওগ্রাফিক বা ডিসকভারি চ্যানেল দেখে হয়তো আমরা পপকর্ন খেতে খেতে টি কফিতে সিপ নিতে নিতে হয়তো আমরা দেখে অতটাও আর কি মানে মেল্টিং আইস ক্যাপের ব্যাপারে অতটা হয়তো কেয়ার করব না, কিন্তু যখন আমরা অ্যাকচুয়ালি অ্যান্টার্কটিকাতে ভিজিট করছি এবং আমাদের চোখের সামনে গ্লেশিয়াস মেল্ট করছে, আইস শেলস কোল্যাপস করছে, তখন আমরা রিয়েলাইজ করতে পারবো যে গ্লোবাল ওয়ার্মিং কতটা একটা সিরিয়াস থ্রেট পৃথিবীর পক্ষে। Antarctica, because of a simple ecosystem and lack of biodiversity, is the perfect place to study how little changes in the environment can have big repercussions. Repercussion মানে হচ্ছে after effects. Take the microscopic phytoplankton, those grasses of the sea that nourish and sustain the entire southern ocean's food chain. These single-celled plants use the sun's energy to assimilate carbon and synthesize organic compounds in that wondrous and most important of processes called photosynthesis. Scientists warn that further depletion in the ozone layer will affect the activities of phytoplankton, which in turn will affect the lives of all marine animals and birds of the region and the global carbon cycle. In the parable of the phytoplankton, there is a great metaphor for existence. Take care of the small things and the big things will fall into place. So, Antarctica has a very simple ecosystem because it does not have different kinds of species, not many different kinds of species. Therefore, it is the perfect place to study how small changes can cause big effects. ছোট ছোট পরিবর্তন কিভাবে বড় after effects নিয়ে আসে। The author gives the example of phytoplankton, microscopic plants in the ocean. They are like grass in the sea. They use sunlight to make food through photosynthesis. So if the ozone layer gets more damaged, it will hurt these tiny plants. It will hurt, H-U-R-T, hurt these tiny plants. This will then affect all the marine animals and birds in the region. So the lesson is that if you take care of small things, big things will automatically fall into place. If you take care of the small things, big things will automatically fall into place. Walk on the ocean. My Antarctic experience was full of such epiphanies. So epiphanies মানে হচ্ছে sudden understanding. Epiphanies মানে হচ্ছে আমরা বলতে পারি sudden understanding. The author had many moments of sudden understanding. যখন আমি একটা কিছু দেখে হঠাৎ আমার মধ্যে কোনো আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ডিং জাগে, আমরা কিছু বুঝতে পারি। But the best occurred just short of the Antarctic Circle at 65.55 degrees south. The Chevalier had managed to wedge herself into a thick white stretch of ice between the peninsula and Tadpole Island, which was preventing us from going any further. The captain decided we were going to turn around and head back north, but before we did, we were all instructed to climb down the gangplank and walk on the ocean. So there we were, all 52 of us, kitted out in Gore-Tex and glares, walking on a stark whiteness that seemed to spread out further. The author had many moments of sudden understanding, epiphanies, but her best one happened near the Antarctic Circle. Their ship got stuck in ice. বরফেতে জাহাজ আটকে গেছিল. The captain decided to turn back, but first he told everyone to walk on the ocean. So all 52 people walked on the ice. Under their feet was 1 meter of ice. Under their feet was 1 meter of ice, and below there was 180 meters of salty seawater. Okay, এটা এখনো আসেনি যদিও. Underneath our feet was a meter thick ice pack, and underneath that 180 meters of living, breathing salt water. In the periphery, crab eater seals were stretching and sunning themselves. রোদ পোহাচ্ছিল এবং আলমোড়া ভাঙছিল on ice floes, much like stray dogs will do under the shade of a banyan tree. It was nothing short of revelation. Everything does indeed connect. So under their feet was 1 meter of ice, and below that was 180 meters of salty seawater. They saw seals relaxing on the ice floes. This was a great revelation for the author. Everything is connected. 9 time zones, 6 checkpoints, 3 bodies of water, and many ecospheres later, I was still wondering about the beauty of balance in play on our planet. How would it be if Antarctica were to become the warm place that it once used to be? Will we be around to see it, or would we have gone the way of the dinosaurs, mammoths, and woolly rhinos? Who is to say? But after spending 2 weeks with a bunch of teenagers who still have the idealism to save the world, all I can say is that a lot can happen in a million years, but what a difference a day makes. After crossing many time zones, checkpoints, and water bodies, the author kept thinking about the beautiful balance of nature. So she asked herself a question: what if Antarctica becomes warm again like it used to be? Will humans be around to see that, or will we become extinct like dinosaurs, mammoths, and woolly rhinos? তো অ্যান্টার্কটিকা যদি আগের মতো গরম হয়ে যায়, আমরা কি সেটা দেখার জন্য বেঁচে থাকবো? কখনোই না. আমরা এক্সটিংক্ট হয়ে যাব লাইক ডাইনোসরস, ম্যামথস, অ্যান্ড উলি রাইনোস. No one can say for sure, but after spending 2 weeks with teenagers who are idealistic and want to save the world, the author concludes that a lot can happen in a million years, but what a difference a day makes. এর মানে কি? এর মানে হচ্ছে that while big geological changes take millions of years, small human actions every day can make a huge difference, either for better or for worse. Either for better, হয় ভালোর জন্য নতুবা খারাপের জন্য. আশা করি এই চ্যাপ্টারটা আমি খুব ভালো করে বোঝাতে পেরেছি. এটার আমি একটু সামারি টাইপ করে দেব এবং এর কোশ্চেন আনসার্স দিয়ে দেবো. আশা করি তারপর কোনো রকম প্রবলেম হবে না. সো দিস মাচ ফর টুডে. হোপ ইউ হ্যাভ আন্ডারস্টুড দ্য চ্যাপ্টার প্রপারলি. Bye.